Hello everyone, this is Stephanie. Welcome to another video. So I'm excited to share with you this latest video where I'm using the beads from my collaboration with Eureka Crystal Beads in the Stonehenge Ancient Runes collection. However, you don't need the collection to do it. If you want to look for the beads from the collection, you can go to their site. I'll put a link, go to the collections page, and generally they have under my collection they'll have, or any collection, they'll have all the beads that are available if the collection itself is sold out. So I'm using the cushion cut here, and I'm using this Elite Crystal Briolette. Isn't that stunning? That is so gorgeous. And we're going to learn how to wrap a briolette. Now, I'm no expert at this, but I did do a lot of practicing, and you do have the wire in. If you have the collection, you have the wire that you can use from your collection. And you don't have to have the briolette. This one is an onyx briolette that I had in my stash, and I just love that with it as well. I'll put a link in the description box below the video for how to wrap. I have a video where I show you how to wire wrap beads and such. And so if you happen to want to do this one without wrapping the briolette, you can. All right, so I'm going to clear this off, get a materials list going, and we'll get started. So don't forget to like and subscribe and ring that bell so you get notified when I upload a video. Let's get started. Materials list going. So you need two 12mm cushion cut fancy stones, and if you have my collection, you have these in this pretty Tanzanite color. You need two of these Briolettes, and these are the Elite Crystal Briolettes. They're Austrian crystal. They're so gorgeous. You have these two, and I think it's Erinite, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, in the collection. So you can make a pair of earrings with the green drop and the purple and the Tanzanite cushion cut. 11 seed beads, 15 seed beads. You have wire in the collection. It's not this exact wire because I used that up already practicing my loops. And but you have 22 gauge wire. Now, if you don't have the wire and you're purchasing wire, you might want to go with 24 gauge. Just might be a little bit easier for wrapping, but we had 22, so I'm using 22, and I think it came out great. I've got some either jump rings, a few jump rings, or some Rolo chain, probably a 4mm jump ring, or I have a little chain here. I have two ear wires, so this isn't in the collection, but everything else here is in the collection. All you have to do is add the jump rings. So let me put some thread out. Very important. You want to use 6-pound fire line, and you want to, or even 4-pound, because this is a difficult bezel. You need to get your needle through it. So use 6-pound if you have it, and maybe size 11 beading needle. I have this little magnetized needle case. I'll link this down below. I'm not sure where I got this. I might have gotten on Amazon. But so make sure you have a 10, 11, and 12 beading needle handy, just so you want to just get through the beads easy. So I think that's it. Let's put a little stop bead out, which for some reason I always forget. Here's a little stop bead. And if you're going to wrap, so you'll need your cutters, flat nose pliers, round nose pliers, and you'll need a chain nose. So I think you can get, you always need your cutters. I think you can get away with your cutters, the round nose and the chain nose. I just like this flat nose to hold, pieces. And, if you have all your pliers, pop them out. There's a little bent nose pliers here too, but you can get away with those three. All right, so I think that's everything. So don't forget to check the description box below the video for all sizes, shapes, colors, amounts of beads. Coupon codes that I have are down there. Anything I have to add that I forgot to add, any notes or whatever on the project or anything else. So I'm going to clear this off and we'll get started. Let's get started. So thread your needle with about 5 feet of thread, put on a stop bead, and leave enough of a tail to sew in. So we're going to set up for our herringbone. So I picked up and I've dropped down to my stop bead 4 of my 11 seed beads. Now I'm just going to sew up the first 2 from the end. Like that. That's what that looks like. And then I'm going to go sew down through these and then back up through these 2. And this is how we're going to start our base for our herringbone. Let's add on some herringbone. So I just flipped my piece over so my thread is coming out here. I mean, I think we had it, so it's like that. So either way, it doesn't matter. I just think it's a little easier for me to sew in this direction. So I'm going to pick up 2 11-ohs, exiting here. I'm just going to go down 1. And then up 2. I'll move my thumb in a second. So this is what I have. Pick up 2. Exiting at about 11-oh. I'm going to go down 1. So the next one, over. Make sure they flap into, turn into a stitch, and then up 2. Let's do it one more time. Pick up 2, sewing down 1, and then up 2. That's it. That's your herringbone, and that's what you're going to do until you surround your stone with enough of those beads. Now on this one I used 28 beads, but as we know that all fancy stones or cushion cut fancy stones are not, brands are not equal. So you'll just measure around. You just want to make sure it touches here so we can just sew this together. So just like any bezel, you know, you want to make sure that your beads go all the way around. So for me, it was 28, and that's what I'm going to start with, but it could, you know, change depending on your brand stone. All right, so get that done, come back, and we'll... So I have my piece done, and now we're going to make it into a circle. So I'm holding it this way. Here's my working thread here, coming out of this bead. I took my tail thread, which was coming here, and I just went down a few beads on this side and clipped it off. You don't have to sew anything in. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to attach both ends. So here I'm exiting here. Just going to sew up through a couple of beads on this side. Like that. And I'll leave the thread path open for you. So like that. And then I'm just going to go right across to these 2 and come down these 2 on the other side. Ouch. And then 2 here on the other side. And see my thread path? Just like that. Okay, now I'm just going to come across again. So here my thread is kind of going right across. So through these 2 on this side, and then up through these 2, and then a couple more, just to set us up for putting some more beads on. So when I pull, this is what it looks like. Let's add some 15-ohs on now. So I've done all my reinforcing here and it's connected really nicely. I'm exiting 11-oh. So I'm going to pick up a 15-oh, exiting right here at the top of this 11-oh. I'm just going to go to the other side of the one I'm exiting and advance 1. So you see where my needle's coming out? And that's going to take that little 15-oh, and you want to move it over there and pop it on that bead right above that 11-oh, right there. And again, I'm going to pick up a 15-oh. I'm exiting this bead right here. I'm just going to, the top of it, I'm going to sew through the bottom and then advance 1. Like that. And you want to make sure each time you do this that you take that little 15-oh and you pop it on so that it's sitting right on top of that 11-oh. Like that. Let's do it again. 15-oh, exiting the top of this 11-oh, so through the other side, the bottom, and then up 1. I'm holding it with my thumb. See how I pushed my thumb over there a little bit? And then I'm making sure that it's nice and even. So you just see how nice and straight and even they are. You want to make sure you do that, otherwise, because that's going to be the interior of your bezel. So you want to make sure that that's nice and snug and looks nice and even. All right, you're just going to do that all the way around and then come back and we'll continue. I'm coming down to the end. I'll do the last couple of beads with you. So I'm exiting an 11-oh. I'm just going to sew through the other side of the 11 I'm exiting and advance one, so sew through the next one as well, making sure that sits right on top like that. And don't forget this last one, because we want to make sure there's an 11-0, a 15-0 on top of every 11-0. So exiting here, sewing through the other side of that one, and then advancing one. Make sure that straightens out, just like that. So this is where we are right now. Okay, so let's move on. So exiting that 11-0 right there. I'm just going to see where my thread's going across here. I'm just going to sew through this 15-0 right here, just to set up to close up that round of 15-0. We're going to close this up. So we're exiting a 15-0. All you're going to do is sew through all the 15-0s. So exiting here, I'm going to sew through all the way around, pulling it in to tighten it up. And you want to go past, where you started to really tighten it up. And you'll see it'll sort of start to pull in. So go all the way around, go past. You can even reinforce it one more time if you feel you need to, and then come back and we'll continue. Okay, so this is where I am. I went through all the beads, and I went through all the beads again. I just felt like I needed to tighten it up a little bit, and I'm exiting a 15-0, doesn't matter which one. So we're exiting right here, the bottom hole of a 15-0. I just want you to come over to the 11-0. So sew through the 11-0 next to it, like that. Make sure you're staying nice and tight. And then you're exiting this 11-0. You just want to sew through the 11-0 next to it. We just want to move the needle over there so we can start on the other side. So this is where you'll be exiting. Okay, this is what I have so far. So it's a circle so far, and we're doing this sort of rounded cushion cut. So you want to make sure you're exiting 11-0 on this side, so the top 11-0, and I'm just going to pop the stone in just for a second. I just want just for fit, and that's a pretty nice fit right there. Okay, but I'm not going to leave it in. I'm going to pop it out and while I continue on this side. So all you're going to do on this side is the same thing you did on the other side. So you're just going to take your 15-0, exiting the top hole of an 11-0, sewing through the other side of that bead, and then advancing one. You can put it on a little knitting needle or a Sharpie or something to hold it, but we're just going to keep doing that all the way around, just like we did on this side, until you get to the end, and then come back. Don't close it up. Come back and we'll close it up together. Okay, so I've got all my 15-0s on. Here's my last one right here. Here's the 11-0 I'm exiting. So I'm exiting right here. I'm just going to sew like down through this 15-0 like we did on the other side. And then we're going to get ready to just sew through all the 15-0s, but first we're going to put our stone in. Okay, let's pop the stone in. So I'm just going to pop it in like so. And then, so I'm exiting that 15-0 there. I'm just going to sew through all the 15-0s to tighten it up. Just like that. Oops. There we go. So they would just begin, and you want to make sure that you're pulling it snug. So just go all the way around, and then meet me at the end, and you can go all the way around again to tighten it up. And then we'll continue. Okay, we're back, and this is what I have. So I went around a couple of times. I went around as many times as I could just to tighten it up. And then I felt for the sides of my stone. And I didn't press super hard. I just did a little press like this just to make sure it goes into that sort of organic looking shape like that. So it's a little bit of like a diamond with round edges, or, a square if you want it that way. But we're going to be doing it this way, and at this point you just can sew this thread in, because we'll add thread for the ear wire and for that pretty drop on the bottom. All right, so get to this point, sew your thread in, come back, and we'll start embellishing. Just a note, when you sew your thread in, I've already done it, but let's say you're exiting a 15-0, let's say right here, just come over to your 11-0, sew down a little bit, a few beads, and then cross over to the back and sew up a few beads and then down, and then you can just clip that thread off. And there you have it. And you can kind of play with it a little bit to make sure it's perfect. There we go. It's sort of an organic shape, but I think it came out nice. All right, so finish that up and then we'll continue. Okay, just a note before we put the ear wire on. So on the one on the video, I put my ear wire in the back row of beads here, and I put my drop using the front row. And so you see here, this is in the front and this is in the back. And the reason I did that is I thought it would sort of balance out the weight of the earring so it wouldn't move forward, you know, fall forward. But then I did this one where I put the ear wire in the front of the bezel and the drop in the front, and it really didn't make a difference. So you can do it either way. You can do the ear wire in the front and then the drop in the back, or just, you know, whatever you think. But I just thought that it would, you know, originally I thought it would help with the balance, but the balance seems to be okay either way. So just a little note there. Let's add an ear wire. So on my ear wire, I added a little piece of chain or 2 jump rings, whichever, but you don't have to do either one. I just liked it a little bit longer. So this is what I did. Do a couple of jump rings or a couple pieces of chain. Now I'm going to thread my needle with about 1.5 feet of thread, put on a stop bead, leave enough of a tail to sew in, and I'm going to try to find a center bead. Let's make this the top, and I want to work with these back beads here, and I'm going to attach my ear wire to that center bead there. So if you see, it kind of cuts the whole stone in half. I'm just going to actually go through a few beads before it, just because it's easier than trying to, you know, jam my needle through just one bead, but we'll only be working with this bead right here. So I have my thread situated. I'm just going to be working with this one bead at the top here. So I'm going to pick up 2 11-0s, my ear wire, so come through the ear wire or the jump ring, whatever you have on there, like that, and then I'm going to pick up 2 more 11-0s. I'm just going to sew through that one bead that's on the bezel right there. And that's going to pop that on like so. Okay, next up, I'm going to reinforce by coming through that first bead right here. Now if you want at this point, you can put a little 15-0 in there. I did that on the original earring. I have a little 15-0 in between. So you can do that if you want. I think I'm going to do it without it. So I'm just going to come through all the beads again. And then you would put a 15-0 here if you did the 15-0s. Just coming around again and through the bezel. And now I have my ear wire on. And so you want to make sure at this point that you do a really good job of reinforcing both those threads, you know, tying them in, and then come back and we'll put the drop on. Okay, let's do a little wire wrapping here of this briolette. So my suggestion to you, if you are new at this and haven't really done it before, instead of you using your gorgeous elite crystals or Swarovski, whichever you're using, briolette, because these are expensive, maybe order some or cheaper ones, or hop over to your local craft store where they have like a Michael's or a Joann's where they have briolettes, and you know, you can get like 20 of them for a couple of bucks, and practice, okay, before you use these guys. Okay, I'm going to take my wire and I'm going to pop it through. I'm going to put the longer side over here on the left, and about 1.5 inches here or so, like that. And then I'm just going to cross these wires over like that. And 24 gauge wire is probably the best wire to use for this, but I just have 22, so we're going for it. Okay, so here, and you want to let that cross about like so, because we're going to wrap it, so we don't want it too huge. All right, so this is what it looks like so far. Okay, so this is what we have so far. I'm just going to take my chain nose, just going to grab that very in the V there of the smaller, and I'm just going to jog it up a little bit like that. So this is what I have. Now you can take your chain nose pliers and you can do the same thing with that other, with the long end. Just take it and give it a little jog that way. So this is what I have. Going very slow. Okay, so this is what we have so far. Now I'm going to take my round nose pliers and attempt a loop here. So I'm just going to come in this way. I'm just going to determine the size loop I want by where I place it on my pliers. So it looks about right. And I'm going to hold this. So give me a second to get this properly situated so you can see. So you see that? I'm holding it on the wire that's coming out here, and I've got it right in the middle there. So you want to make sure you kind of keep it straight as possible. So like that. Then I'm just going to wrap this wire around and keep it tight so you don't bend it out of shape, like that. And then I'm going to put it through my the bottom jaw of my pliers and continue wrapping around. So when I'm done, just to this point, and I take this out, this is what it looks like. It's a little wonky at the moment, but we'll straighten it out. So I've got a loop at the top, and then here's my bottom. I think I'm just gonna take this and just straighten it and pull it up that way a little bit. Straighten it out, kind of push this up this way so that they're sort of in line as, you know, as best you can. Okay, so that's what we have so far. Okay, this is what it looks like. I've got that loop, I've got that, this is the small part, this is the larger end. I'm just going to take my flat nose and I'm just going to hold these two. I'm going to hold the loop and this shorter piece right there, and this is where I'm going to wrap. So I'm going to start. Wish I had a darker. Let me see if I can move my lights a little bit. Okay, so I'm just going to start wrapping here. So going around, I just want to cover everything and go down, just doing it slowly. Just going to go down to where I cover the hole in my bead, and you can go down a little further if you want. I think it's going to take about 8 wraps, 7 or 8, like that. And it's a very organic look. So this is what I have so far. Next up, I'm just going to push this over a little bit and clip it off. So I'm going to clip that very close, like so. And then I'm just going to clip this side off. Now you can twist it around or do a little curly Q. I'm just going to clip it off like that. And there, I've got my little wrapped briolette. And it's, you know, they don't all come out the same. Here are some others that I did, and they're, you know, they're all a little different. They're very organic, and I think the more you practice, the better you get at this. So have fun playing with this, and then come back and we'll attach it to the earring. Here we're back. So I put a jump ring on the drop, like I did for the ear wire at the top. I guess you don't have to do that, but you want it facing this direction, so you can always turn it this way. But I thought I'd do that. I threaded my needle with about 1 foot or so of thread, stop bead, tail to sew in. I've just sewn through that middle bead. I was able to get through that one on the bottom. I'm doing it on the front now. So just like that. I'm going to pick up 2 11-0s. I'm going to situate my drop to where it looks the best. So that looks good to me. I'm going to go through my jump ring. I'm going to pick up 2 11-ohs. I'm going to go back through that middle bead, you know, the bead I was exiting, like that. And I want to make sure that, again, that the ring sits between the 2 11-ohs there. And you want to make sure that it's going to stay there. So you want to do some reinforcing now. Let me just, if I pull it like this, that's what it's going to look like. So I'm just going to just reinforce around until it's nice and tight on both sides, and that my little jump ring is in the middle, just like that. Okay, and then you're going to sew these threads in. Now, before when we did the top, this thread, you know, just try and get it through. Let's see, where's it coming out? Because we want to make sure. So I'm coming out, both my threads are coming out top here. So with this one, you can just sew this way. This one you can sew this way. Put in a few half-hitch knots until it's nice and snug. And then come back and we'll finish up. We're back and we're done. And I just love how the white opal with the black onyx drop looks with a, let's say, black ring and a black sweater. Love the black and white thing. Looks so pretty. And it was such a blast playing with this. I did do a lot of cussing when I was trying to learn these. I need practice too. So, you know, don't get frustrated with it. Just keep playing with it and you'll get it. Just practice makes perfect, as usual, right? So I thought I'd just give you a look at the pieces we've made so far from the collection. So the Ancient Runes, Stonehenge Ancient Runes collection. And so here we have the Morning Mist bracelet. So we did it in a wrap. These are the beads from the collection. That pretty makes a cute wrap bracelet. These are from my stash. I just made a single. Here's the wrap. This is the Standing Stones necklace and Standing Stones bracelet. This was so much fun too. Of course, the earrings, the Sacred Ground earrings. Aren't those crystals so pretty? I just love the sparkle. It's so, so pretty. And then, of course, my favorite here, I'll take this. I have 2 of these. The Ancient Ruins bracelet. Isn't that so pretty? Absolutely had such a blast creating this bezel. It was so much fun. Of course, here are the earrings that we just made today that look really beautiful with the bracelet. And then I did one of the Standing Stones bracelets with some Tanzanite rivolis that I happen to have. So lots of fun. We've done lots of pieces. We'll do more. I think I've used just about every bead. I think every bead except for 3 in the collection. I haven't used the total amount of all of them, but I've had, you know, almost all the beads I've used somewhere. All right, so I want to thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.